Right. Welcome everyone to the Choose to Change 90-day reentry program. If you're a visitor or new to this program, we welcome you and we are glad you are here. Many of us walked into these rooms not sure of what to expect, but many of us stayed because we saw real people with real problems who had real hope. This 90-day reentry program is a self-supporting group sponsored by the Choose to Change Foundation. There are no dues or fees to attend a class, but we do encourage donations from our members and to anyone who believes in what we do. The only requirement for membership is a sincere desire to change. So if you're ready to change your life, then you are in the right place. Through this program, you will learn the tools and resources to finally change your life forever and a relationship based support system to keep you going. For many of us, there is no easy way out of the mess we created in our lives, even if it wasn't your fault. But the good news is that there is a way out if you will choose to believe in the impossible. Right. Welcome again. My name is Frank Salazar, and I've been a member since 2015, and I haven't regretted my choice ever since. How is it? Has everyone had a good day today? I got some good news today. My two of my three kids will be here next month for 2 weeks, and I'm still praying on the third one. But uh, at least I'll have two of them for Father's Day and my birthday. So that those are the days that I wanted them. So, right. And without further ado, I think we have a great lesson today from our mentor and CEO Orlando Salinas. So let's give him a round of applause as he approaches the podium.
Right. Thank you, sir. Frank, man, he does a great job. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking time to be here. How is everybody doing? I've been in this process of change for 27 years. 27 years. And I'm excited about the next 27. Yeah. Because trying to figure out how to live a good life is not easy. Right? It's not easy. So I don't think Greg would mind me put him on the spot. But Greg and maybe another brother here, well, I think three guys here, they've never been in prison. That's great, right? Yeah. But they're here. Why? Because everybody needs help, man. No más que not everybody wants help. We all want something in life. We just don't seem to know how to get it. And direction is what we need. We need direction. That's why God is so important in our lives. Otherwise, we'll just go like this. And that's why many of us wound up where we wound up, in prison, in drugs, in alcohol, and just lost. And that's why the Bible tells us that we're lost. We're lost. We're like sheep. We're lost without direction. We're lost without God. So in any case, I'm excited, and great things are happening. I want to welcome everybody for being here for the first time. Also, for everybody that helps us out on a monthly basis, that pitches in when we pass around the donation bucket. Thank you so much for your support. And the money goes to doing what we do here, and especially now is going to go towards the prison. On Saturday, I'm going to prison. On Saturday. And I'm going to go do this seminar. I calculated how much it's going to cost me. It's going to cost me $600 and let me see, what was it? $650 because I'm going to go and I'm going to do this seminar, this 6-hour seminar at the Gloss Brenner unit right there in San Diego, Texas, next to Alice, Texas. And I'm going to give them 25 men that signed up. And we're gonna be in the school, in the prison. I'm going to give them one each of my book. I'm going to feed them pizza. I figured out we're going to need about 17 pizzas. And I'm going to teach them everything I teach in here in a 6-hour frame. All that plus the gas to go over there, all that's going to cost me it's going to cost, not about, it's going to cost $650. And we have that in the Choose a Change account. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Jesus. So, but that's just one trip. I'm going to make another trip in July. That one's going to cost like $1,000. No, like, maybe like, I don't have the numbers right now, but then I'm going to need a hotel over there. And I'm going to go to 2 prisons. So it's probably going to cost closer to $1,000 to get over there. And that's because I don't get paid. I volunteer on my time. That's just so that's where the money is going, guys, just so you know. And to equipment here and that's where the money is. I just want you to know that's where the money goes to do what we do. So thank you for your support. Today I wanted to talk about are you still in the fight? Are you still moving forward? And I wanted to and I'll probably share something like that next week about what I went through this Saturday. But I wanted to share something with you guys because in here we're gonna talk about the process of change. The process of change is this process that I have back here, which I won't go through today. I'm not gonna explain it today. I explain it every single Thursday. But today, you know what I want to do? The reason why many of us come in here, let me turn this off and put us on Choose a Change here. And there he goes. I want to talk about addiction. Because why do most of us get in trouble? How many got in trouble here because of alcohol or addiction? There we go. Almost all. Addiction. Well, I'm going to leave that there. Is that how you spell addiction? Yes, Semikawola ink. I'm going to put it in red because addiction. I want to talk about addiction. So I'm working on a series and a message on addiction. And let me tell you why. I'll probably share this short message during our Calm Down series. Man. In September 12th, you can mark your calendar. We're having our 3rd annual Believing in the Impossible dinner auction where we raise money. September 12th. It was awesome last year. If you haven't seen the video from last year, go to Choose a Change in YouTube and look up the event. It's a 3-minute video. Check it out. It's amazing. And but I'm gonna be the keynote speaker, and I want to share this little message on addiction, or what I call the cycle of addiction. The cycle of addiction. And this is where I want to share a few things with you guys today, because I want you to help me and see if I'm on the right road. All right? I have a lot of experience when it comes to addiction and alcoholism, and I know that there's a few in here that do also. So maybe you can help me out here. Because here's the problem, guys. Who do we hurt the most? Those we love, our families. Those that we say we love, we shed tears for. That we say we love, our little babies, our little children. We say we love them. But yet, drug and alcohol seems to take over. Right? So I want to be able to explain to people, because how many knows that a drug addict and alcoholic is just a real liar? We just lie. We're deceived because that's how we. But let's go through this. See if I got it right. Maybe you can help me out. I want to talk about addiction today and why it's so hard, not only to conquer it, but for the family members to understand you. Understanding drug addiction. So let's jump right into this. Understanding drug addiction and alcoholism and recovery is very complex, and it's very heartbreaking, especially for parents and family members. Yes or no? The reason is because why it's so challenging is because it challenges people's two things that challenges people, not only yours, but your family members. When it comes to recovery and changing our lives, the reason it's so hard is because it challenges their faith. You know, why does this happen to my mijito? Why is this happen? Why isn't God helping my? Why is this happening? It challenges their faith if they're Catholic or whatever they may be, Christian. But and it challenges their belief systems. If they don't have faith, they don't understand why you, their son, their daughter, is so messed up. They can't see it. And it can leave you with it can leave people with a sense of hopelessness and confusion when they realize that recovery, helping their son or their husband, is not as simple as just sending someone to rehab. That's what people realize. Because what happens, I remember the first time that my parents and my mom and my sister, that were trying to get me help, right? Because that's what happens, right? Yes or no? The family, they want to get you help. But you don't want help. You don't think you need help. Am I right or wrong? But they're trying to get you help. And what do? They want to get you to rehab. They know nothing about rehab. But yet in their mind, because that's all they hear, right? And that's what I want to talk about. Rehab. Let me tell you about AA. And I have a lot to say about AA, but let me tell you something about AA that most people don't know. Because this is not advertised. The media won't tell you this. Nobody will tell you this because of the way AA is formed. But AA, today we have all kinds of rehab centers, right? Expensive rehab centers, all kinds. We really do, because recovery is in now. And but AA, just the program of AA, the reason why it's so popular and why it's so, well, people use it the most is because it is the most effective method of recovery that have ever existed. Next to God in Jesus Christ. That's a huge statement. And just for, that's my opinion and the opinion of many, many, many people. AA. And the reason it's so effective is because it has spiritual principles involved. And spiritual principles don't change. But that's all I'll say about AA. But just know that but yet, that's not what they push in our society. They push rehab. They push medication. They push psychiatry and all this stuff that they've added, because there is a problem, but how they deal with it and how you're going to choose to deal with it is what I really want to talk about. Because people's going to walk in here. People walk in here because they got on probation, because they got a DWI, or they got a dirty UA, or they coming out of prison, and like you guys that came because you had to go to a program, so you're coming here. And thank God that some of you, like you guys, realize that you've learned a lot more here than you would have in AA and in any other program. But again, let me say one more thing about AA. The reason it's so effective is because it's a spiritual program. It deals with you. I'm not saying that that's the answer, but I'm just saying, according to the founder, Bill W., the only solution, he says, for hopeless drug addicts and alcoholics is a spiritual experience. And they do have a spiritual experience. And I think that they're very effective. They may not be saved. They need Jesus, but they're free of drugs and alcohol. The solution of the world, of our society, is really only two solutions, guys. There's only really two solutions. when it comes to addiction, which is what our world presents, which is uh, they call it a disease, they call it a chemical imbalance, right? They call it a phobia, they call it a social problem. Yes. And that's what they call it. But I call it a spiritual problem. Sin, a problem of the heart and soul. And today, what I want to do is try to convince you or help you see that why I believe that. Who believes that it's a spiritual problem? It's a spiritual problem. And that's why it gets tricky. So let's talk about what I call the cycle of addiction. I've come up with this myself with 27 years, well, actually 40 years of experience of understanding and watching, going through drug addiction, prison, rehabs. And I want you to, I've broken it down, the cycle of addiction into 3 phases. And here's where I need your help. See what you think about these 3 phases. And see, I want you to maybe add to them. Can somebody help me clean this? You might need here. So I want to call it the 3 phases. Yeah, go ahead and put some water in it. I want to go something through what I call the 3 phases of, or the cycle of addiction. The cycle of addiction. Addiction is a very complex. He has some of that. That'll work really good. Listen, let me define addiction for you guys, in case you haven't heard about this. Listen to this, and this is where I'm going with this. He says addiction is a very complex. Let me repeat that. I googled this, and listen to what the definition of addiction is. Here's the definition of addiction. Addiction is a compulsive need for and use of a habitual forming substance. In other words, we want to drink and use drugs. That's what addiction is, that we want it. It is accepted as a mental illness in the diagnostic culture and results in substantial health, social, and economic problems. So what he's saying is addiction is something that we're addicted to because we want to feel good, and they consider it a mental illness, which is a disease, what they call a disease. Now, I looked up where the word addiction came from, and I was surprised to hear it, and which is what brought up what I'm sharing tonight. I had never looked up where that word come from. I said, where does the word addiction come from? Listen to this. The word addiction comes from a Latin word. I don't know how to say it. Addicere. I don't know what that means. It's Addicere. Addicere. Which means, listen to what it means. Enslaved by or bonded. You're in bondage. That's what it means. The word. As originally used, the word was not linked to substance use behavior. Instead, it was first associated with the excessive use of alcohol. And that's where they came up with this word addiction, because they saw that people were in bondage. As Christians, what do we believe? That people are in bondage to sin. And before I go on, that's what I want you to keep in mind. That the reason we get so crazy, the reason we get so addicted, the reason we get so the reason we're the way we are is because of sin. and we're in bondage. So keep that in mind as I move forward. Keep that in mind. So let's look at this cycle of addiction. Cycle of the addiction. The first phase of the cycle is what I call the fun phase. Everybody likes this phase. Nobody thinks wrong about this phase. This phase is exciting. This is what I call the fun phase. And I want your input, guys. Here's what I got. This phase is characterized by experimental drugs. You're just experimenting. By weekend party, clubs, events, dancing, fun. You're just having fun. Yes or no? This is the fun phase. This phase usually starts in the teenage years, right? And of course, there's some exceptions. Sometimes I heard of people that didn't start drinking till they were 30 or 25, or right. They graduated. They graduated from college and their life got worse, or they started drinking in college. It's for different. But for many people, many of us, especially, we started very young. I've heard that people even start early as 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old. Somebody in here told me that they used at 8 years old. Was that you? How old? 9 years old. Now, this is tragic, but this is the reality for many people. This is usually because there's no father in the home. That's usually why. Or the father was there, but he was an alcoholic. And that person lived in an area where there was alcoholics and drug use. Tell me if anybody knows about this. Because marijuana was the first drug for many of us, right? And I saw this in my own family, where you give the power hits. Remember the power hits? Ahí cuando todos se ríen. The power hit. You turn the joint around. Come on, where is it? ¿Se acuerdan o no? Remember somebody doing that to their 8-year-old son or their 8-year-old cousin? Yeah. Chavaria, you were twisted. Why? And why did they do that? Because they'd see the kids, go to sleep, or that's pretty wicked, man. But we thought it was fun, right? Or whoever was doing, that's what happened to some of us. But that's where it usually starts when you're young. So in this phase, the fun phase, the fun phase can last for years, well into your 20s and 30s. In this phase, and why does it last for years? Because drinking, especially if it's drinking, is considered a social normal in most people, in most homes, right? In America, it's legal. So drinking is normal. When I met my wife, for her, drinking was normal. She didn't know how crazy I was, which is true for most of us, right? You meet a woman and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Right? They have no idea. And you're in it. And because we're twisted. Men are twisted. And in our mind, we're getting away with it because they believe us. Because remember what I told you about the bondage. I'll get back to it. Because we're out of control, man. And we think, but we're having fun. Right? We're having fun. And this can be, in this phase, you just, partying, going on the weekends, going to work. It's just fun. Right? You're just having fun. But somewhere down the line, the reason I had this is like this. So this is the fun phase, right? But the next phase is we just kind of drift into it. We don't even realize it. So they kind of overlap like this. You with me? And this is the what I call the trouble phase. The troubled phase is categorized by problems in the marriage. You're having problems in your relationship, in problems at work, hangovers getting. From the fun phase to the trouble phase is kind of blurry. It's kind of like you don't really know which one you're in. The family usually doesn't see it coming. The wife, they just start sensing something's off. In this phase, the troubled phase is when you start getting in trouble because of your drinking and your using. Because usually you're drinking and using. The family knows you're drinking, they don't know you're using. I'm just giving you my experience. And here comes the trouble. Your first DWI. Your first assault case. Your first car accident. Didn't hurt nobody. Your first relationship breakup. Your first loss of job. The troubled phase. You're all with me? You're having trouble first you were just having a little bit of trouble, but now things got a little bit worse. Not much. You still go get another job. But what happens when we're in the troubled phase? Here's what happens. We tend to drink more or use more, right? That's what I have. You drink more and start using harder drugs. Because now, and I'm talking about an addict. Now, you're shifting from fun, and all this is fun, but you're starting to have trouble. At this stage, mothers and wives start suspecting something wrong. Something's not wrong. Something's wrong. And then the family members go and confronts your husband or your son or their daughter. And they say something like this. Maybe you ought to start drinking a little less. Who's ever told it? Who's ever told that? I was told that. Maybe you need to just start drinking at home. Why are you out so late all the time? Man, let me write that down, babe. Hey, I forgot about that. I'm writing it down. Whoa, man, I forgot. Man, estaba twisted, yo. Need to pay the light. We need diapers. You need to say that again, Mom. Give it where's the Here's what she said. The troubles phase. She said the family and the wife start saying, why are you so late out so all the time? Where's all your money? We need to pay the light, the water. We need diapers. We need food. Woo. Am I on the right road here or no? See, in all this time, at this stage, that person doesn't think he has a problem, right? We don't think we have a problem. He justifies everything and starts making excuses, right? That's what we do. And this is where we start getting good at, because we're already good at being liars and deceitful. But now we really start getting good. I thought I was slick, man. I'm talking about, listen, I could talk my way out of just about anything. I've gotten stopped, I don't know how many times by a cop. And my wife even witnessed. I remember coming from Houston with my wife, pregnant wife. We were moving down here because I had nowhere else to live. We're loaded our truck. I had a cocaine right here in my pocket because I wanted to make sure had it ready in case I had to throw it or something. The cop stops me. And I said, "Oh man, I'm drinking. Have my little six pack. I have to have a six pack." He said, "Bueno, me paran." The guy stops me. Hey, pues ya ves, I got to tell you the truth. I got to tell you the truth. I just had a couple beers. He looked at my wife. My wife was pregnant. It was a girl and a guy. They took my wife back there and they talked to me. And the officer just like, he said, or Mr. Salinas, get in your car. I want you to go to that store and just stay there for about 30 minutes. If I see you on the street, I'm going to take you, back on the road. I'll stop you again and take you to jail. Me da una chance. And what do we think? Slicka, estamos en slicka. And that's just one. I got about several times. You wouldn't believe it if I told you, man. And then when they finally gave me a DWI, I never got a DWI. And they finally gave me a DWI coming from Houston to the Valley and Etna, Texas. The next day I got out with my signature and kept on going to party. I beat the case in court. What do you think I thought, brother? Slika. See, we think we're having fun. We think we're getting away with things. And all the while you're digging a hole. You don't even know it. Two things happen at this stage. The troubled stage. Here's the two things happen because this is where it starts getting crazy because now you start getting into the crazy stage. And this is where all of us found ourselves in. Because here's two things happen in this stage, the trouble stage. And I've seen this with my own eyes. Let me give you the best scenario first. At this point, he gets a DWI, maybe he gets probation, and he starts controlling his drinking and using. He really starts controlling it now. He actually gets better at dealing with his drinking. He only starts drinking at home. He drinks. He doesn't drink and drive. He's learned to handle his hangovers. He's a social drinker now, social party, just at home. I have a friend of mine that's what he did. All it took was one DWI when he was like 20 years old. That's all it took. Now he's 60, 40 years later. But he never drank and drove again. But he drinks every single day and smokes weed every single day. He was one of these guys. He learned to control it. Went to work, but his house was that's it. He's grown old now. Gonna retire. And now he just has a little home, drink his little beer, smoke his little weed, just with his wife and the grandkids. He's good, right? And that could be you. I don't want that life, to tell you the truth. I'm glad I went into the crazy phase. Because the crazy phase makes you make a decision. And here's where it gets really tricky, guys. Because if you decide that you're going to control and enjoy, and you do, then you're not going to go much too far in life. Which most of us in here are not there. We're just crazier. Most of us in here. You went into the crazy because most of us are crazy. And that's some of that we're. What I mean by that is not that we're. That doesn't mean stupid. Nobody in here is stupid. In fact, most of you are very smart. We're just crazy. Or like my father, he controlled, he drank, he was a provider. But he died miserable death. 20 years bedridden, diabetes, cut off his leg, right? So then his disease or his problem forced him to stop. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to live that life. I love my dad because your family loves you, right? They don't care that you drink. If you're home and you come home and everything, they don't care that you drink. They might not like it, but they get used to it. And that's what we do. We get our families used to you being that uncle, that dude. Nah, he just, and you could live that way. I don't want to live that way. All I'm saying is this is where this troubled phase can go. That's the first. But the other way, things just get worse and you slip into the crazy phase. And here's what the crazy phase is. Does anybody have any questions? Have I missed anything? I'm glad that Isabel mentioned what she said because I had forgotten those things. Because really in the crazy phase is where the questions comes that she's talking about. Where's the money? Did you get paid on Monday morning, right? On Friday night, Friday you got paid, and Monday, where's the money? So going from the troubled phase to the crazy phase, here you keep getting trouble. Things get worse and worse. You get 2 or 3 DWIs, 2 or 3 rehabs, probation, finally go to prison, get out. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where the window of opportunity comes. Because in the crazy phase, you start having an overdose or divorce or health problems, prison, right? And then things get worse. Maybe you join a gang and it just gets worse. And then you finally come to a conclusion in the crazy phase after going to prison for a couple of times, 2 or 3 rehabs, divorce, or, and then you have to come to a realization, right? Where you realize, man, I do have a problem. Maybe I do have a problem. What's wrong with me? They call it an addiction. I remember they said that in rehab. And you start thinking about everything that they've been trying to tell you. But now you're confused. The crazy face. And this is where it gets really hard for family members. Because it all hinges on you and what you decide to do. It all hinges on you. And this is where, so let me ask you a question. Does anybody have anything to say here? Before I ask the question. Anybody? Huh? Question. Hold on.
The fun phase when things starts off, to me, my impression is always like the trouble phase is when you start to see consequences for your actions.
Okay.
The crazy phase is when your family, society, and the world starts to see the consequences of your actions.
Okay, say that again.
The trouble phase is when the fun ends and you start to see and have consequences for your actions.
Okay.
The crazy phase is when the family and the world and everybody else starts to feel the consequences for your actions. That's when you get that tipping point to make a decision to either rectify your life and change, or you continue on in crazy and those consequences get beyond your control. And that's where the prison, the divorce, and the financial, all that stuff happens in crazy. You still got hope in trouble because you're feeling those consequences. But if you don't deal with them as a man or woman, once you go to crazy, that's that line of demarcation where either you straighten up and fly right and the change happens, or you head on to those other areas.
Yep. So here's what I want to ask you. Now, well, the first question is, am I right here? Am I on the right road here? Okay. This right here is what we don't see. This right here is what your parents don't see, what your wife doesn't see, what nobody sees. They don't understand this. Right? But somewhere in this area, right here, usually there's zero chance, almost zero chance, not quite, but almost zero chance that you'll ever change. So here you can be there forever. Here, I don't know, maybe there's a 20% chance that you'll change. The first time you go to rehab, but it's right. The first time you go to prison, but in the crazy phase, it's 50-50. So here's the question. When is the best time to help somebody here? What do you say? And they're crazy? Okay. Anybody else? Troubled? Okay.
The fun part.
That was interesting. When they are ready. And how does a family member know when they're ready? Here is the best step. I can write it down here. I like that. Man, I'm glad I did this today. It can happen here or here. Does anybody see that? Or is this in the way? You see it? It can happen either here or here. And here, in this phase, you still have your family. They haven't given up on you. And a lot of them don't give up on you over here either. And a lot, especially grandmas and mothers and wives, they don't give up. But now when they're ready, the question is, what's the solution? And that's what I want to talk about next week. Once you say, I'm ready, because it just depends. It just depends on you. It comes from within. I understand that. Nobody can force you. And that's what I want to help families understand. Because unless they get here, and maybe we can come up with something else, accept that they have a problem. She said, unless they accept they have a problem, there is no solution. Unless you accept you have a problem, there is no solution. Now, that's the basis of most recovery programs, acceptance. But what I want to talk about next week is what is the solution? Because I have a solution here. But it's not the only solution. I just think it's the best one. Because it's a choice. That's why it's called choose to change. And you don't have to get here or here to want a better life. And really, when you get here and you finally surrender, like many of you, like most of us in here, you start realizing, wait a minute, there's more to life. Life is great. And what we're doing right now, guys, what we're doing is just cleaning up this mess that we have in our minds from the past. In the recovery program, they call it the wreckage of the past. And it gets hard because we're not used to living a normal life. ¿Verdad? Not used to that. We're not used to these normal people. ¿Entiendes? But that's where I believe that, we can be very effective, very prosperous. We can be successful in helping people, and we can do more than your regular folks once you understand the potential you have within yourself, the potential what God allows us to do. And that's what I believe is the best solution: God, Jesus Christ. And there's a reason for that. I won't go into all that, but I'll explain it next week. Yeah. Let me pass around the donation bucket. Does anybody have any questions here? We are a self-supporting group. So anything you give, $1 or 20 or 1,000, it doesn't matter. Ira, no va a traer puros 20. ¿Cómo le haces? Chavaría, ¿o quién trae la?
First, all honor and glory to God. It took me a long time to accept that I was an addict, because I did drugs, but they wouldn't drive me. What drove me was my criminal addictive lifestyle.
Okay.
Was selling of the drugs and the power that I had over people. That was something that was very, very hard and addictive, of course, and then hard for me to give up. And when I was in prison and they would ask me, "Hey, Montoya, what's going to be your hardest struggle when you get out?" I said, "You guys honestly want to know what it was?"
Money.
And they would ask me, "What's that?" I said, "Carrying a pistol." Because I carried a pistol since I was real young. I carried it like it was like a credit card. You know what I mean? Everywhere I went, I had it on me. People that knew me from the street, they knew me that. And then like I shared before, I picked up a murder case, and then they gave me a FI5. A FI5 program is for people that are addicted to drugs. And at first, I was just blessed to go to this program, and then while I was in the program, I finally understood what they were talking about, and it opened my eyes that I was just addicted to
the thug life.
Exactly, I was more addicted to that than anything else. And God opened my eyes, and here I am today. That's all I got to share.
Amen. So let me ask you a question. When you say open your eyes, what do you mean by that? What did you see? What was your revelation? What was your aha moment? What was your prodigal son moment? What was it about you what happened that you said, you know what, I want to change? That's what I want to know.
Well, you know what I would have to say. Like the first time that they asked me to share, when I was doing bad, like I shared before, I was one of the ones who always jump and do bad, so I want to show off. And when they told me that first time to share, I got so scared, man, scared to share. And I went back to my cell, and there I was sitting down, and I clearly, first I heard Satan tell me, "What are you doing here?" Because I was going through a program, right?
Okay.
And then I heard God clearly say, "Hey, man, you know what? Look at everything you've been through, and all they're asking is for you to share. Maybe you can, give insight to some of these men. Maybe they need to hear a encouraging word. Not something like, maybe they're going through the same thing you went through.
Yeah, and
they can relate to that." And that was one of my biggest moments. I said, "Okay, Lord, if it's you speaking to me," I grabbed the Bible, and I just opened it, boom, and I went. I think it's 1 Timothy.
What scripture?
Chapter 1, verse 7. For God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of love and sound mind. And I knew that was God right there.
But when did you decide you wanted to change? Did God touch your heart? Did you hear a sermon?
Yeah, God started just touching my heart.
Yeah, because I'm sure you did a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah, When I went to that program, I let everybody know that I had gone, that I was on a Christian, and I just went for parole reasons. But when I was there,
Wow.
they
There you go.
they're-
So you heard something good. You
yeah,
heard the
I
gospel.
just hear it. It was
You heard the love of
everything-
God. You heard
yeah.
a good message. You heard that you could change.
And I finally, you know what? Honestly, my wife started dying at that time. She died during the COVID, and she was real sick, man. And I asked God to please save her, to help her. And I clearly, it was the first time that he told me, well, how do you think them people felt from the people's that lives that you took?
Mm.
And that hit me hard, man, because I never felt no remorse for what I did.
Yeah.
Not at all, because I couldn't comprehend to that, the way that I was raised. I mean, there was no remorse in me whatsoever. I can't sit here and lie to you guys. And when that happened and I asked him for her, I clearly heard him telling me, well, how do you think them people felt? And man, it was just a big old spiritual battle within myself. But that's pretty much how God opened my eyes.
What you just said is huge, brother. And what he just said is in all of us. And that's why men don't even think twice when I say, men, we're twisted, because you know what I'm talking about. Because some of us, like him, and most of us probably, could pull a trigger and kill somebody without even blinking. Because it's in us. And that's why we become so ruthless and so daring and so, see, and we destroy ourselves, guys, is really what it is. It's not even the drugs, it's ourselves. It's a spiritual problem. We'll get more into that next week. So I hope this helped you. Did this help you guys? So if you know anybody, I wanted to pass these around. I want you to invite somebody. Just take one or two and just invite somebody. And if you think mine can benefit from what we're going to share, what is the real problem? What is the solution to our crazy life, to our addiction, to our confused life? And that's what we're going to talk about next week. What is the real solution? Because I believe that we ought to name this video Rehabs Don't Work. See how many Rehabs Don't Work. See how many views we get. How many hate mail I get. And a ver si no viene mi gente. Wait a minute, let me explain what I mean. All right, guys, that's all I have. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next week.